Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. Canadian military personnel from Calgary are on their way to BC to help firefighters battle wildfires. The Premier of the Territories met with Prime Minister Trudeau, asking for federal help as her region also battles wildfires. And a criminal defense lawyer speaks out on a report which says judges who attended a Liberal Party fundraiser were recently appointed as Superior Court justices.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Dozens of soldiers from Calgary are headed west to help battle the BC wildfires. It's part of Operation Lentus, the Canadian Armed Forces response to natural disasters here in Canada. Around 40 troops from the 41st Canadian Brigade Group left for BC on Monday morning. Most of the soldiers are part-time and deployed to international and domestic missions when called upon. There are currently 376 active wildfires burning in British Columbia. Members of the wildfire-stricken Shuswap regions will soon learn the fate of their properties affected by a fast-moving blaze. Emergency officials with the Columbia Shuswap Regional District say staff will begin reaching out to residents today. Officials say the estimated number of properties destroyed by the Bush Creek East wildfire is at 131, with another 37 sustaining damage. They say the plan is to open a resiliency centre in Salmon Arm to support displaced residents. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with the Premier of the Northwest Territories to discuss federal help battling their wildfires. Emergency officials say close to 70% of residents in the region have been forced from their homes due to the blazes. Premier Caroline Cochrane met with the Prime Minister in Edmonton.
We are in a disaster that we've never seen before, fighting over 250 fires in the Northwest Territories. Many of our communities at risk, currently 6 evacuated. Address the infrastructure gaps later. I also want to extend the support that they've given, having the military come up to help him with the logistics of this. Again, we couldn't have done it without the federal government. We haven't done this before, so huge gratitude for the support the federal government's given to date. I also want to thank the province of Alberta and Manitoba. I'm driving down here myself as an evacuee as well.
The support for families, the support for people has been incredible. It's the story of this very difficult summer of people pulling together and being there for each other. And there is no greater example than the leadership you've been showing, Caroline, over the past number of very, very difficult days.
Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland is in Newfoundland and Labrador discussing her government's continued plan for green energy, clean fuel regulations and housing. Freeland says this year has been extremely tough on Canadians due to high inflation, but she says things are slowly turning around.
The good news is inflation is really coming down. It was at 3.3% last month. That's down from a high of 8.1% in June of last year. And from $10 a day childcare to a new Canadian dental care plan, we've strengthened the social safety net that millions of Canadians count on, all while ensuring that Canada maintains the lowest deficit and debt to GDP ratio in the G7.
Federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has been touring the country chatting with farmers about the federal government's carbon tax and how it's been impacting them. He says he's finding out that those in agriculture are not very happy right now.
Look at this. Come on over here, Alex. Carbon tax. How much is it costing you per hour to run this guy?
$60 more since July 1st.
$60 more.
An hour per hour since July 1st.
Per hour to run one of these things. Right. And then, so how much are you going to how much will your farm operation pay in extra carbon tax?
I have no idea where it's going to stop. It's 1,000. I know it's 1,000.
Right.
This spring we burned 13,000 liters of fuel.
Yeah.
Just putting the crop in the ground.
Yeah.
For 13,000 liters, fueled up 30, 40 cents say a liter. You do the math. 5,200 just to put the crop in the ground.
The Trudeau tax is a tax on food. You tax the farmer who makes the food and the trucker who ships the food. You tax all who buy the food. I'll axe the tax to bring home lower prices. What do you think?
Exactly. That's got to happen.
Federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says things need to change with the Trudeau government. He says Canadians simply cannot keep up with the rising cost of living, especially when it comes to groceries.
We can tackle corporate greed, that we can do more to give people a shot at being able to put food on the table. And I remember what that's like. I was thinking and talking with Shane Tiana about when I was a kid, when I was 20, taking care of my 15-year-old brother, and I was going to university and trying to keep food on the table for my brother, and I had to work 3 jobs. I remember struggling, and I don't want anyone to have to struggle just to put food on the table. So we've got a plan to tackle the corporate greed. First of all, we know that in Canada, we don't have strong enough competition laws. We need more competition. We need to bring in more, we need to support independent local grocers for more competition. We are the ones that actually did an investigation into food prices. And the Competition Bureau found conclusively that the large corporate grocery stores are increasing, have increased their margins, are making more profit than ever before. We found that to be true.
A new report by 338 Canada shows the federal Conservatives with a substantial lead over the Justin Trudeau Liberals when it comes to who Canadians would vote for. The results of polls conducted on August 27th say the CPC now leads the Liberals 39 to 29% in support among Canadians. The NDP was third at 18%, followed by the Bloc Québécois at 7% and the Green Party at 4%. Polls done by Main Street Research, Abacus and Nanos all show the Poilievre Conservatives with a lead. A new report by the National Post says high-level judges may have paid to meet Prime Minister Justin Trudeau shortly before they were appointed as judges. The report says 6 current Superior Court justices may have paid to meet with the PM or the Deputy PM at Liberal Party fundraisers. Now, to chat about this in more detail is criminal defense lawyer Ari Goldkind, who joins us now from Toronto. Ari, something doesn't smell quite right here.
The reason it doesn't smell right is because of the reporting that shows just how obvious 2 things are. One, the access that cash gives you to the Laurier Club or to the Prime Minister or his delegates when you're applying or being considered for a position on the nation's highest trial court. 2, what's really important to remember as part of this story is you're 3 times more likely, if you're a Liberal or left-wing, let's just call it what it is, to be appointed to the Superior Court bench during the Trudeau years than if you're a Conservative or right of center. And if people don't think that affects the direction the court is moving, particularly in times of Me Too, in times where crime is rising, there are all sorts of immigration issues being litigated. The one criticism most Canadians have of the U.S. Supreme Court is that it often looks like a bunch of partisan hacks, where you know what the decision will be because you know who appointed and what the politics of every person will be, from Clarence Thomas all the way to Amy Coney Barrett to Kwame Brown Jackson. Canadian courts should look nothing like that, but the reporting reveals just who's being appointed, why, and what access they have. And that should be concerning to Canadians.
Is this not a conflict of interest? Should we be talking about potential ethics violations here?
Well, whether they're ethics violations or not, I'm not so sure of, because it doesn't look like they're breaking any rules. But a lot of this is happening behind the backs of the Canadian people who assume everything is apolitical or hunky-dory or not partisan. But when you have a crime wave in Canada, when you have the Me Too movement, when you have all of these social issues, and you know that judges are being appointed to the highest courts who happen to be, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, coincidental, 3 times more likely to be donors to the Liberal Party. Sure, it's the Prime Minister's prerogative. He's been elected. He can appoint who he wants. But when he comes out and says it's all based on merit, and that is what they say, it's all based on merit, does that mean that there aren't an incredibly huge number of people who are conservative or right of center who are not as meritorious as the 3-to-1 ratio being appointed by the Trudeau government of Liberal or Liberal donors or left of center people? That should concern Canadians of all sides, because you also wouldn't want Pierre Poilievre doing that if he becomes Prime Minister one day. There's a goose and a gander, and people often forget that.
Thanks so much, Ari. That was criminal defense lawyer Ari Goldkind joining us from Toronto. 3 impaired drivers were taken off the streets of Lethbridge, and 54 tickets were issued by Lethbridge Police over the weekend. LPS say it's part of their traffic enforcement project, which is targeting those who speed, race, stunt, or who have loud vehicles. In addition to laying 3 impaired driving charges, police also arrested 3 suspended drivers and executed a warrant. A 37-year-old Lethbridge man is facing charges in connection with an incident on August the 27th when he allegedly followed a 32-year-old woman who was jogging along Mayor McGrath Drive South. LPS say the man pulled his truck ahead of the runner and stopped in front of her on 4 separate occasions. When the woman encountered a group of people, the driver took his vehicle and left the area. A photo of the vehicle was sent to police, and the man was arrested later that evening at his Northside home. Police say the victim and the accused did not know each other. Neil David Fox faces charges including voyeurism, criminal harassment, and mischief. He was released from custody and will appear in court on October the 18th. Police in Fort Macleod say a smoke bomb went off at a Pride event which took place at the Empress Theatre. RCMP say the incident occurred on Saturday night around 8:30. The investigation revealed that the suspects used Fisher and Martin lure oil in their smoke bomb. 2 suspects who fled the scene were arrested a short time later. Police say the suspects are youths, so no names will be released. The investigation continues. A former gymnastics coach accused of sexual interference and sexual assault had his case back in court on Monday morning. Jamie Ellicott, who was accused of assaulting several young girls while he was a coach, did not make an appearance during the proceedings. Defense requested to have the matter moved to the next sitting date, which is coming up in September. The defense and prosecution continue to work out appropriate trial dates. The case was adjourned until September the 11th. The Alberta government says they will continue to monitor a mild strain of COVID-19 that's going around. In a statement to Bridge City News, the province says the EG 5.1 variant is a descendant of the Omicron variant. It is an XBB version that has predominated for several months. There's currently no evidence to suggest EG 5.1 can cause more severe illness than previous versions of the virus. Around 200 Albertans who were previously found guilty of breaking pandemic-related public health orders could see their fines quashed and their money returned to them. Just under a month ago, Justice Barbara Romaine ruled the province's health orders were invalid because they breached the Public Health Act. Now, as reported on Bridge City News, Romaine said the Chief Medical Officer of Health and not politicians should have made the final decision on health restrictions. The Alberta Crown Prosecution Service said it will be taking steps to ensure the remaining 14 cases before the courts would see acquittals or stays of proceedings. The folks at Canadian Blood Services are urging folks to help donate blood and plasma to help with blood supply issues right now. The agency says summertime is already a difficult time for them to maintain their supply, and this summer has been even harder due to the wildfires in BC.
In Kelowna alone, we've had to cancel about 300 plasma appointments as people deal with evacuations and the stress of the wildfires. So we're really trying to make up those numbers, as well as even with the wildfires in Alberta, although we didn't have to cancel appointments, when those things happen, we do see less donors coming in. So this summer particularly has been really difficult.
Over the next 2 weeks, God says they have over 200 spots that need to be filled by eligible donors. Streets Alive is a local Christian charity which helps the homeless and those who are battling addictions here in our city. Earlier this year, Lethbridge City Council voted against providing the group with funding that would have come from the federal government. Co-founder of Streets Alive, Ken Kissick, says the money eventually did come through, however.
We were still awarded that contract, but the council's decision was kind of misplaced. And so that contract now is being fully funded by the city instead of having part of it funded by federal funding. So the gap, there was a couple of month gap to the services to the people, but we did that with our own funding. So that we're just here for the people. But yes, we are currently under contract with the city for doing encampment outreach services till the end of this year.
Make sure you catch the full interview with Ken Kissick of Streets Alive and BCN's Naveen Day coming up later in our broadcast. Christians in a number of communities in Pakistan have come under attack recently after 2 teenagers were accused of allegedly desecrating a Quran. Christian leaders said it was false accusations. Now, Christian charity Help the Persecuted says nearly 30 churches have been attacked, with some being completely destroyed, and around 100 homes were also attacked. We have more now in this report.
Christians in several communities in Pakistan have come under attack from angry mobs after 2 teenagers were accused of allegedly desecrating a Quran. Christian leaders and others said it was a false accusation. In response, Christian charity Help the Persecuted has a field ministry team on the ground in the worst affected areas around Faisalabad, providing immediate practical and spiritual support. Here, team member Pastor Rashid is stood on one of the most impacted streets, describing the devastation in this Christian community.
I am looking the situation here in front of me, really bad situation, and as a part of body of Christ, I can feel the pain So please pray for us and pray for our brother and sister who are living here. They lost everything. They have no place to live.
He went on to visit one of the homes of a Christian whose home had not only been vandalised but also burgled.
6-month-old daughter. She had a gold ring as a gift. They stole all the gold from their house. You can see his house is totally destroyed, and they snatched everything from the home, and they are not safe here.
Pastor Rashid was able to provide lightning funds to assist 80 people with their immediate needs for food and shelter.
So our little support, when we gave them, they were smiling like they have a lot of money. And when they took the cash support, like relief from us, they were giving lots of prayers, and they were asking, where come from this money? So I said them, it is from God. So they were very happy.
And Help the Persecuted CEO and President Joshua Youssef says they're committed to helping rebuild these many broken lives in Pakistan.
This type of event is going to require a larger response on our part, both in terms of rebuilding, but also a sort of spiritual and counseling component as well. And we need to be praying for these people who are experiencing a host of emotions, I'm sure, and that they would be given peace in the midst of this, chaos, but also, some resolve. I think things need to change in Pakistan, and perhaps this is a turning point.
Peter Wooding reporting for the Global News Alliance.
Following a plane crash involving Wagner Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin and 9 others where there were no survivors, Russian President Vladimir Putin has issued an ultimatum to the remaining resistance fighters. According to our foreign affairs expert Lisa Daftari, the group has been ordered to sign an oath of allegiance to the Russian state.
Putin is a funny dictator. He works in both ways, right? He's savage. He will do anything, right? He will poison his enemies. He'll kill his enemies. He'll do anything. But at the same time, he tries to appear like a formal statesman, right? So here he's saying, I'm going to kill you anyway if you don't listen to me. But here you go. Sign on the dotted line and you'll be okay. This is more of a formality to say, look, if you don't want that to be your fate, then you better listen up and you better get back in line and listen to my orders.
Lisa Daftari will also have an update on the war in Ukraine coming up in the second half of our newscast. Megan Kang of the United States beat out South Korea's Jin Young Ko in a one-hole playoff to win the CPKC Women's Open, the Canadian National Championship. It was the first victory of Kang's 8-year LPGA Tour career.
It feels like it hasn't even sunk in yet. Honestly, I was kind of stressing the whole day, even the past 2 days, and I relied pretty heavily on Jack, and at the end of the week to be on top, it's huge, and like the feeling just hasn't really sunk in. So, I feel like, being that it was 8 years to get the first win, it definitely kind of creeps into your mind, like, am I gonna win out here? And that's when like a good team comes into play. My parents, my boyfriend, my caddy, they're like, it's not if you're going to win, it's like when, and it's when I kind of like mature and kind of be more comfortable and confident in my own game and be able to just kind of focus on the task at hand instead of the results. Because this week it really played a factor in like, you can't get upset over stuff that's happened in the previous holes, and you just got to, focus on the next shot because that's all that matters.
Congratulations going out to Megan winning the Canadian National Championship. Well, we had nice golfing weather today in Lethbridge featuring loads and loads of sunshine. And those summer-like temperatures will be sticking around southwestern Alberta. Full weather details are on deck. We saw lots of sunshine again across much of southwestern Alberta and fairly hot again today. Tonight, it should be mainly clear in Lethbridge with a low near 10 degrees. Tuesday, it should be mainly sunny again with a high near 32. Wednesday, a low pressure system is moving in, bringing clouds and a chance of rain developing with the mercury dropping to 18. Thursday, the clouds should clear out and we should see a high near 25. Friday, lots of sunshine again with a high of 27. Not a bad weekend is shaping up. Saturday, expect a few clouds and a high of 30. Slightly cooler on Sunday with a high of 25. Checking the almanac, the average high for this time of year is 24 degrees and an average low of 9. The record high was 34 degrees set back in 1972, and the record low was a chilly 0 in 2007. The sun rose at 6:41 and set at 8:23. Let's see how Tuesday's shaping up across the country now. Expect light rain and 18 degrees in Victoria, BC. Showers and 19 is on tap for Vancouver. Calgary should be sunny, a little hazy though from the wildfire smoke, and a hot 31 degrees. Expect sunshine and high of 30 in Edmonton. A special air quality statement was issued for parts of Saskatchewan today. Tuesday, expect more smoky conditions and a high of 31 degrees in both Regina and Saskatoon. It should be mainly clear with a high of 25 in Winnipeg on Tuesday. In the central part of the country, Toronto will also see a high of 25. Ottawa will be partly cloudy and a high of 26. Expect light showers developing and a high of 25 in Montreal. In Atlantic Canada, expect a mixture of sun and cloud and a high of 24 in Fredericton. Light showers and 21 degrees in Halifax. Partly cloudy and 23 for Charlottetown. And in St. John's, it'll be mainly sunny with a high near 22 degrees on Tuesday. Workers at 3 major auto manufacturers have voted in favor of allowing their union to call a strike if bargaining committees cannot secure new collective agreements fairly soon. Unifor, Canada's largest private sector union, says its members at Ford, General Motors and Stellantis all voted between 98 and 99% in favor of the strike mandate. The vote took place over the weekend amid a pause in bargaining talks. The current batch of collective agreements, which cover 18,000 workers, are set to expire just before midnight on September the 18th. American Airlines is drawing the largest fine ever for keeping passengers on delayed flights without giving them a chance to leave the airplane. The U.S. Department of Transportation says it fined the airline $4.1 million for more than 36 violations of the so-called tarmac delay rules, which took effect around 10 years ago. The government says its investigation shows that from 2018 to 2021, American kept 43 domestic flights stuck to the ground for at least 3 hours without giving passengers the chance to deplane. The Body Shop will begin selling its products at Shoppers Drug Mart locations. The partnership marks the first time the Body Shop's products have been sold outside of the company's own stores and online shop. The UK-founded beauty brand says the Shoppers locations will carry bath, body, hair, and skincare products. Company officials say the partnership will begin with 25 Shoppers locations across the country and plans to double that number by the year 2024. Now, here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was up 189 points on the day to finish at 20,025. The Dow was up 213 points to 34,559. The S&P 500 was up 27 on the day to 4433, and the Nasdaq was up 114 points to 13,705. West Texas Intermediate Oil was up 15 cents to 79.98 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 4 cents to 258 US. Gold was up 4 cents to 19.2021 US an ounce, and silver was even on the day at 24.23 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $10.04 per bushel, barley's at $7.62, canola's at $18.47, and corn is at $9.32 per bushel. Live cattle were up 3 cents to $180.70, feeder cattle were up $2.63 to $250.25, and lean hogs were up $2.03 for the October contract to $81.85. The Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours to 73.54 US. Recapping one of our top stories, dozens of soldiers from Calgary are headed west to help battle the wildfires in British Columbia. As part of Operation Lentus, the Canadian Armed Forces response to natural disasters here in Canada. Around 40 troops from the 41st Canadian Brigade Group left for BC on Monday morning. Most of the soldiers are part-time and deployed to international and domestic missions when called upon. There are currently 376 active wildfires burning in British Columbia. The Iranian government is demanding that the United States pay $330 million in retribution payments. Our foreign affairs expert Lisa Daftari will explain why shortly. Listen, if you see news happening in your community, be sure to drop us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. And if you missed any of today's top stories, make sure you visit our website, bridgecitynews.ca.
Here's today's Bridge City News Community Calendar. The downtown Lethbridge BRZ is proud to host Downtown Night Markets in Festival Square, September 14th, 21st, and 28th. After a long day, come enjoy the evening ambiance with live music, delicious eats from food trucks and restaurants, plus vendor shopping from 5 to 8 p.m. Lethbridge Sport Council's Outdoor Roving Gyms program is taking place Tuesdays at 10 to 11 a.m. and Thursdays 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. This program is for kids ages 5 and under and their caregivers. Come enjoy an hour of fun and get active. The location of each roving gym alternates between Legacy Park, Gyro Spray Park, and Henderson Lake Park. Locations of weekly roving gyms can be found online at lethbridgesportcouncil.ca/roving gyms. Advance registration is required as space is limited. And that's today's Bridge City News Community Calendar.
A court in Tehran has ordered the United States to pay $330 million, and it has something to do with an event which took place about 40 years ago. Now, to talk about this in more detail is the host of the Foreign Desk, Lisa Daftari, who joins us once again from the City of Angels. Lisa, the Iran state media reported that a court in Iran issued a verdict demanding the United States pay $330 million in restitution for its alleged involvement in orchestrating a failed 1980 coup against the newly established regime?
Yeah, could you imagine? How do you say chutzpah in Persian, right? This is beyond the audacity of what the regime has done over and over again formally. I mean, informally, we know about all the proxies and all the terrorism and all the suicide bombers that they support, all the blood they have on their hands, including American blood as well. But now they decided among themselves in an Iran court that the United States owes them $330 million. This is from what they allege is a coup that the United States helped orchestrate when Jimmy Carter was president, that would try to unseat this regime just months after they came into power. Now, I actually wrote an op-ed just a few months ago why Jimmy Carter owes the Iranian people an apology, because many Iranians, when you look back on the American foreign policy of the time, believe that Jimmy Carter was the one who pressured the Shah of Iran to leave and was already in touch with the people surrounding the Ayatollah Khomeini, who was the founder of the Islamic regime in Iran. So it's interesting because the Carter presidency, or the administration rather, brought them in. It was what many believe, and then they are now saying that no, they were actually the ones who orchestrated a coup. But bottom line is, they think that the United States, after helping to unfreeze $6 billion to them just a couple of weeks ago, now owe them $330 million for what they were involved in.
And at the end of the day, a verdict in Tehran doesn't necessarily translate to the courts in the United States. It's like, yeah, good luck.
It just shows us how spiteful they are, and that they believe they have the upper hand, Hal, right? Just the amount of the bullying, right? The bullying, the intimidation to come out with such a thing. And many believe that Iran and a new Iran deal is right around the corner. I mean, they're not even on their best behavior when they're just about to perhaps get another deal with money released.
Lisa, Russian investigators say they confirmed that the remains found following a deadly plane crash last week are those of Wagner Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin. 10 people died when the jet crashed north of Moscow on August the 23rd.
Yeah, so people were skeptical as to whether or not he was in there, if this was just more propaganda, right? We can't believe anything that comes out of rogue regimes and dictators' mouths. This obviously narrative would, behoove and support the narrative of Putin, that he's going after the Wagner Group, that he's going to go after those who cross him, and he believes that this mercenary group did not listen to him, that they have been, on their own, kind of doing what they want to do. So to rein everything back in, he basically launched this attack to kill this one individual. 10 others also died in the attack. And now there's DNA evidence to prove that it was him. So that kind of puts the story to rest, that he did go after an enemy, and that was in fact him.
Now, following the crash, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered that the resistance, or the remaining Wagner fighters, sign an oath of allegiance to the Russian state, Lisa. Is that an or else ultimatum?
Exactly right. So Putin is a funny dictator. He works in both ways, right? He's savage. He will do anything, right? He will poison his enemies. He'll kill his enemies. He'll do anything. But at the same time, he tries to appear like a formal statesman, right? So here he's saying, "I'm going to kill you anyway if you don't listen to me. But here you go, sign on the dotted line, and you'll be okay." This is more of a formality to say, "Look, if you don't want that to be your fate, then you better listen up and you better get back in line and listen to my orders."
Lisa, Japan's National Defense Ministry said it scrambled jet fighters to monitor Chinese Air Force bombers and drones flying near the country's Okinawa Island and near Taiwan. 2 Chinese H-6 bombers were spotted flying around.
Yeah, this is just goes to show it's not just Taiwan that's really looking out for what's going on in the region and really calling out the overreaches of the Chinese. But here you have Japan as well. Japan, South Korea, Philippines, many nations in that region have tried to get the attention of the United States and then have taken matters into their own hands as well to just monitor and make sure that China knows that they will not stand for any more of their just very rogue and very bullyish behavior to expand their influence over there.
Now, despite some ongoing tensions between the two countries, the Prime Minister of Qatar says his country does not have a war with Israel. But Lisa, Mohammed Al Thani did say, however, that the Jewish state must reach a peace deal with the Palestinians.
You know how they all say that, but this is really the most overstated, trite statement that one could make about Middle East politics, right? So for decades, if you don't want to go back to biblical times, you can just talk about modern politics. For decades, they have been, at war with one another, meaning the Palestinians and the Israelis. And there has been no solution, but yet the Arab states stand there and say, these two have to work it out. But I don't see any of these Arab states helping out their Arab brethren when it comes to the Palestinians. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants to help them. And when you look at the juxtaposition of the Palestinians living inside Israel and those who are living outside Israel, whether it's in the territories or elsewhere, the ones living inside Israel are thriving. They're happy. They're living under Israel. They have jobs. They're able to go to school. They're able to vote. They're able to do many things, and they have many rights under Israel. And the others do not. They will go back to teaching their children to fight and to bomb and to kill Jews and all that indoctrination. So unless there is an overhaul of the entire system where suicide bombers are not paid to kill Jews, where young children are not taught to kill Jews from a young age in mathematics class, then there will be no solution to this. So the Qataris, the Saudis, I mean, every Arab nation feels like it's their responsibility to say that it's on Israel to make peace with the Palestinians before they move forward. But let me tell you one thing, Hal. We saw from the Abraham Accords that a lot of Arab states were willing to bypass the Palestinian issue in order to have deals and prosperity with the state of Israel. That's what the future looks like. If they want to continue throwing grenades and bombing, let them. We want to have deals, and we want to have private and public, treaties and deals that help us and turn a profit. And that's exactly what has happened. If you look at so many of these test cases with these Arab nations that were signatory to the Abraham Accords, it was an absolutely positive and successful endeavor. And I think a lot of these other Arab nations will turn around very soon to sign on as well.
The Prime Minister of Libya suspended their foreign minister over the weekend after she met with Israel's foreign minister in Italy last week. Tell me more about that.
This is a crazy story. We were covering this at the foreign desk yesterday, and we thought, you know what the headline could be? Perhaps Libya could be the next country to be signatory to the Abraham Accords because they're meeting, the foreign ministers of each respective state meeting with each other, and maybe this could lead to something. Hours later, before we went live with the story, we saw that the female foreign minister from Libya has in fact been suspended, not only suspended, but recommended for investigation for meeting with the Israeli foreign minister. So the story took a complete spin. Now they're denying it from Libya that this ever even happened, that it means anything. And we go back to square one.
Lisa, there are reports that the feds in the United States busted human smugglers who were using Snapchat to recruit juvenile drivers in Arizona?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the use of social media in getting these advertisements out there. Think about it; it's free. It goes out to millions of people, and it's the fastest way to get information in the hands of people. Literally, it's in their hands. So we thank God they're busting some of them, but it's really needle in a haystack. There's so much out there, whether it's on WhatsApp, Snapchat, Telegram, YouTube videos I've seen and come across. We've covered that at the foreign desk as well, but these are rings. They're like gangs. There are so many of them, and it is so profitable with so many people trying to come over and needing help. So they serve as the catalyst. Here's your problem. I'm your solution. Now pay up. They obviously will continue to use social media as their free advertisement to continuing their very, very lucrative businesses.
Among the more than 8.6 million people who have allegedly entered the United States illegally, and sometimes Canada illegally, nearly 1.6 million are classified as gotaways. What exactly is a gotaway? Is it, as the name suggests, somebody who just got away?
Yeah, somebody who came into contact with law enforcement but got away. This number has been underreported, and that's really what this story is about. Now, we know that everything that we talk about with regards to the border, until we have this open, porous border, none of this will be resolved. So every week we can have different stories, different angles, how they're taking advantage of it, which groups are taking advantage of it. And of course, as you know, how there are many, many honest people who just want to come over to the United States or Canada for a better life, of course. But there are consequences to that. First, there are humanitarian consequences, meaning even the well-intentioned people are running into all of these challenges, some of them drowning, some of them being raped, getting sick, getting taken advantage of, etc. But also the ones who are not well-intentioned. So we have gangs, we have people that are coming in from different countries, we have people who are just taking advantage of the fact that it's an open and porous border. So these gotaways, we don't know. They might be just benign. They were, questioned and ran away because they were scared. And obviously they know that they're entering the country illegally. And again, I remind you, there's a long list of people who are trying to get into this country legally, and their turn will not come around anytime soon as a result of these numbers coming into our country. But that's really how it's laid out. There's many gotaways. There are question marks. We can't vet these people. There are too many people coming in, and the authorities just cannot control the sheer numbers coming in.
A lot of sheer numbers coming in as well include the Ukrainian refugees, settling tens of thousands of them in Canada and the United States, of course. What's the latest with the war in Ukraine, Lisa? Is there any end in sight?
All we hear about from Ukraine is Zelensky asking for more money, more weapons, and Putin getting more rogue by the day. So unfortunately, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better, because all I see this moving towards is escalation. I don't see this moving towards de-escalation. I don't see Putin backing down, and I don't see Zelensky backing down. And with the United States being its pocketbook and just coming and getting billions and billions at a time, it's ridiculous. The United States, on the one hand, does not believe that Ukraine can win this war, but at the same time keeps pouring money into this war. So I don't know why we are sustaining this war. Nobody wants a war. Nobody wants casualties. Nobody wants anything bad to happen to the Ukrainian people, and we don't want them to be invaded. But this is what has happened, and the way that it is panning out, the way that it is dragging out, does not look like there will be an end anytime soon.
Lisa, do you have an update as well on Donald Trump, who many say should become the next president of the United States next year?
Hal, his popularity is not dying down. If anything, he has used his mugshot to raise even more money for his campaign. If you were able to watch the GOP debates and then watch Donald Trump sit down with Tucker the same night, you kind of put those next to one another, you understand, whether you're part of it or not, what this obsession over Trump is, what this MAGA world is about, and why there are so many Americans who continue to support him, even despite the fact that his name is being tainted with the cases that are being brought against him, the mugshots, the arrest, all of these different ways in which the legal system is coming after him. Different states are coming after him, different entities coming after him. It's only increasing his popularity because people believe that he as an individual is not part of the problem, he is not part of the system, but that the rest of the political world is what needs to be reformed, needs to be cleaned out, needs to be changed here in the United States. So, you have a lot of, GOP candidates now in their arena. Some of them support him, some of them do not. Obviously, I think if he were there at the GOP debate, it would be all about him and bashing him. And I think it was a good opportunity to see the other candidates and what they stand for, and then to see his conversation with Tucker. And now we just watch these headlines, one after the other, trying to stop him. Well, let's see if he could be stopped. It's very interesting. But I do believe if politicians were honest, I know it sounds like an oxymoron, an honest politician, they would look at his popularity. They would look at why there's so many people following him, so many people supporting him, despite the fact that he's in charge. He's getting involved with all these different legal entanglements. Whereas you look at the Bidens, for example, Hunter and Joe Biden getting involved in all these different deals with China and Ukraine, et cetera, it is dropping the Biden administration's poll numbers like crazy. Biden and Kamala's numbers are abysmal right now. I think the Democrats are worried about that, and the Republicans know that. But let's just see how this all unfolds for 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. U.S. political reporter and host of the Foreign Desk, Lisa Daftari, thanks so much for joining us today from Los Angeles.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Here in Lethbridge and in cities right across Canada, a short drive through any downtown area will open your eyes to the challenges with addictions and homelessness. Thankfully, we do have some dedicated people and organizations who are committed to providing help. And joining us to talk about some of these challenges is one of them. He's Ken Kissick, and he is the co-founder of Streets Alive Mission right here in Lethbridge. Ken, welcome to Bridge City News.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Ken, now many of our viewers already know what Streets Alive Mission is about. We've had you on our show before, but some probably don't. So for those who don't know about Streets Alive Mission, can you just give us a snapshot of what you do in Lethbridge?
Well, quickly, we kind of have two primary areas of focus. One is the street population. We provide mission services, clothing, respite. We do outreach services under contract with the city, helping with encampments. We're there for that population, bringing the love of God and bringing hope. The other area of focus is our recovery programs for men and women. We have up to 60 people inside of 4 stages of that recovery program. And we're very successful at that. So that's a very quick, broad view, but ultimately we are here to bring God's love and the gospel of Christ.
That's excellent to hear. Now, what can you tell us about the recent decision to purchase the Galt Manor building in downtown Lethbridge? This is a building known for being trashed by drug dealers and users. So just tell us, what are your plans for the building?
Well, so the Galt Manor purchase is actually a part of a larger initiative called Coming Home. And the Galt Manor was completely renovated. And so when we acquired it, it's in excellent living condition. But Coming Home is an initiative for us to acquire over the next little while 3 or 4 buildings so that we can get away from being a lessee and actually own the properties that we provide the majority of our programs. The program started with our women's house, which we owned and built and renovated a couple of years ago. Galt Manor is just part of that. We are currently in the process of closing a deal to acquire land and building to be able to move our mission out of the downtown. That won't happen for 12 or 15 months. And we are closing on another place where we're going to have 32 beds of men's recovery housing. So it's all together in that. That's all part and parcel. Galt Manor will be used as stage 4 housing. We have begun to transition from the current people that are in there to our people. It's probably going to take about 12 months to get that whole thing done. But that's the reason for Galt.
So tell us, give us a little bit of a status update then on Galt Manor. Have you already gotten people moving in, or do you expect that it'll be at full capacity by year's end?
Well, we took it over full. And so it's as people leave, we put others in. So I'm more like probably this time next year till we get it completely rolled over. It just takes time.
Now, these kinds of things obviously take a lot of money to keep going. Now, earlier this year, City Council voted against providing Streets Alive with funding that would have come from the federal government. Any thoughts on what impact that has on the homeless population and your ability to help?
So, probably people a lot don't know this. We were still awarded that contract.
Oh.
But the council's decision was kind of misplaced. And so that contract now is being fully funded by the city instead of having part of it funded by federal funding. So the gap, there was a couple of month gap to the services to the people, but we did that with our own funding. So we're just here for the people. But yes, we are currently under contract with the city for doing encampment outreach services till the end of this year. So that request wasn't for the contract, it was simply where the money was going to come from.
Now, you and your team are on the front lines in Lethbridge. Can you just share a bit about what you're observing this year with the encampment challenges? That's really a hot button issue here in Lethbridge. Just tell us what's been happening and what kinds of things do you think would be helpful to bring some improvement to that situation?
Well, all right. So the encampment strategy set out by the city, which was to not allow encampments to entrench themselves, is working. So people will notice there aren't any of the big encampments anymore. There's a move to quickly get in and kind of get them tore down, but the people are still here. So they've just spread out through the city into the coulees, and part of our outreach challenge is that we're supposed to provide housing referrals for those who want to go into housing. Over the last 2 months, we've provided 31 housing referrals, but there's no housing for them. So nobody's getting back to us because there is no place to place these people. So we are still stuck with people on the street being unhoused because there is no housing for them beyond the street and the shelter.
Well, that's sad to hear, but let's make things a little bit more positive for a second here. Let's hear some success stories. Are there any individuals who are overcoming addictions and rising up out of poverty?
So inside our recovery program and with the other programs that are running in the community, there are people who are making the choice to get off of drugs, to get out of that cycle. Within our recovery programs for men and women, if we can get them into the program, and our success rate is about 80%, okay, for people that get in. If we can keep them past 30 days on the trail to 120 days, our success rate goes to 92%. So it's very successful. The programs that we run, they're intense. And that's getting people to 120 days. Now, beyond that, over the last 3 or 4 years, we now have individuals who are 3 and 4 years clean. We have people who are getting their children back. So it's not just about getting people off of drugs and alcohol. It's getting them, restoring families. It's getting them back to work. And so we're successful. And those things are happening. The unfortunate part of all of this is that within Lethbridge, the opioid death rate is ridiculously high.
Now, you're talking about keeping these individuals in programs for longer than 30 days, which helps your success rate. What are some of the challenges with keeping people in these programs?
A lot of it is their willingness to do the work, their willingness to not respond in their old ways, but try and respond to the trauma in their life in different ways. And again, nobody got up one morning and said, I think I'll become an addict. They became addicted because of some kind of trauma. And so we are working with them to try and help deal with that trauma. Trauma requires healing. And for us, there is only one healer. And so that's part and parcel of what we're trying to do, is get them to engage with Christ at some point, and most do. And then that's where the success kind of rolls out.
Well, that perfectly segues into my next question, because I wanted to ask you, to what degree does faith in Jesus impact individuals in their recovery journey?
everyone that we have who has gone on, the guys who are getting their kids back, the women, those people have all engaged in Christ. Some have had to re-engage. They were people. Others just have come to Christ. But he is absolutely key. Our faith of the staff, that keeps us here. But the reality is people need Christ. He is the healer. And doesn't have a magic wand. They still have to do the work, and we all do. But faith is key to success.
And those individuals coming out of these recovery programs, are they attributing their success from Christ?
Yeah, most will. As a matter of fact, we just heard a story the other day of one of the women who was in our program. She was pretty challenging. She is Indigenous and had pretty horrific life. But she succeeded in getting through the program. She's gone back to school, and we heard the other day that she is leading other people to Christ.
Wow!
As sharing her story and the success that we have, it just, it's the testimony that's there, and so and we've got others that are doing that, and really, it's just God at work.
And how can people support Streets Alive? Do you need any volunteers, or how can people make donations?
So if you want, they just need to go to the website, www.streetsalive.ca. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter or X, I guess now. And there's a donate button right there. If they want to volunteer, they just need to go to the volunteer section. There's an application they can fill out, and they can come on in. We're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for people who like to donate. And we'll take all the help we can get.
And on the subject of donating, because fundraising is such an ongoing thing with ministry needs, can you tell viewers a bit about the upcoming Ride for Refuge event on September 23rd, and how can people get involved?
So Ride for Refuge is really the partner of the Coldest Night of the Year. It's the same organization. And so they just need to go to their computer, type in Ride for Refuge, and then look for location. We're there under Lethbridge, and they can sign up there. Everything's online. You can sign up as a team. There's 10K and 20K bike rides. You can also walk 5K, and it's all around Henderson Lake. So it's safe. It's family friendly. And there'll be marshals and everybody there. So if you like to cycle, this is a great way to come out and raise some money. If you just want to go for a nice, calm walk and help us raise some money, you can do that too. But Ride for Refuge, just Google it. It'll come up. Look for Lethbridge and Streets Alive and sign up.
And then Ride for Refuge is a fundraiser for the Exodus Men's Life Recovery Program and also the Genesis Women's Life Recovery Program. Can you just explain what happens there and the impact that it's having?
Well, again, these are our recovery programs. Those are the places where people who are choosing to get out of the addicted lifestyle, they've begun a treatment process. And so now we walk them through that. 30, 120 days, then, another 120 days, they can stay as long as we walk. And again, our success rate past 30 days is 92% of the people walk free from addiction, get their life back. Okay. And again, almost all of them have a life with Christ involved in their life now too. So it's a win-win-win.
And then some of these people that have gone through the programs, are they now also volunteering? And when we show up to these events, will we get to meet some of these people?
Yes, most of our people in our program will be part of the volunteer corps at Ride for Refuge. So the problem is you won't really know them. Are separate from just volunteers. But yeah, they come out, they help. Part of the program is to volunteer, so it's good. So yeah, you can meet some and just talk to the organizers and they'll introduce you.
Well, that sounds really amazing. That Ride for Refuge event sounds like an awesome thing to do. Not only just good for the Streets Alive mission, but also great for the health. Go out, get some fresh air, get some exercise.
It's it's a win-win. And so far, we think the weather is going to be pretty decent for it. So should be a fun day.
Excellent. Well, Ken, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, and we appreciate all that Bridge City does. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Ken Kissick is the co-founder of Streets Alive Mission in Lethbridge. I'm Naveen Day. On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, thanks for watching.